Today we're going to look at a helmet that you can use for different riding styles, and that is the Scorpion ADX-2. We have sent our test rider out again. He came back with a lot of interesting data, so stay tuned to find out how well this helmet performs on the road. Team of Champion Helmets here, and today in front of us we have the latest adventure touring helmet from Scorpion, the ADX-2. This helmet has improved features compared to its predecessor and is tested according to the new ECE 2206 certification. Besides this certification, the helmet is also PJ certified, which means that you can ride up with the chin bar up. When you flip up the chin bar, the P goes up with the chin bar and you can even remove the P quite easily. The ADX-2 has a recommended retail price of around €250 or $280 US. Because of this price, the Scorpion ADX-2 will compete with the Bell MX-9 Adventure, Icon Variant Pro, Nolan N72X and the Arroy Commander. We are going to start in this video with the material of the helmet. The outer shell of the ADX-2 is made out of polycarbonate and comes in two outer shell sizes, which means that the Scorpion ADX-2 gets 2.5 stars for the material. If we compare it to its competitors, we see that it ends up at the bottom of the list along with the Nolan N72X. The Icon Variant Pro and the Arroy Commander do slightly better thanks to their fiberglass outer shell and come in three shell sizes. This means that the Nolan N72X doesn't have a strong start, but how does it do on other criteria? We move on with the weight of the helmet, and when we weigh the Scorpion ADX-2 in a size L, the scale shows 1834 grams. If we look at the weight of the ADX-2 compared to its competitors, we see that it's almost at the bottom. Only the N72X does worse with its almost 1900 grams. On top is the Commander with 1494 grams, which is 400 grams less than the ADX-2. The weight of 1834 grams gives the ADX-2 2 stars. But how does it score on the Visor? When we start looking at the Visor of the Scorpion ADX-2, we see that it is pinlock lens prepared and the pinlock lens vision is included in the box. You can place this on the inside of your visor so that your visor does not fog up anymore while riding. And the ADX-2 has an internal sun visor. Also, Scorpion's adventure helmet has a good field of vision and a pretty good visor mechanism. If we add all these together, we see that it scores 4 stars for the visor part. If we compare this to its competitors, we see that it does well and ends up at the top of the list along with the N72X and the Commander. The MX-9 Adventure from Bell ends at the bottom with 2 stars. This helmet was in fact only anti-fog prepared. Now that we have had the review in the studio, we move on to the road test. Before we start with the road test, now might be a good time to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This way you'll stay up to date with all our reviews, road tests and guides. Now let's move on quickly. First, a quick reminder of how we collect our data while testing the helmet. On the left you see a white thermometer that shows the inside temperature of the helmet. This thermometer is connected to a sensor inside the helmet. In the top center you see the decibel meter, which is connected to a microphone placed close to our rider's ears. This captures the sounds as our riders hears it. On the right we see a phone that displays the wind speed and outside temperature. This is connected to a device on the bike that measures the wind speed. In the middle we see the dashboard with the speed of our test rider. Now that that is clear, we will start today's road test with the noise isolation. In terms of noise isolation, the ADX-2 gave us an average of 101 decibels at a wind speed of 120 km an hour. With its fine score of 101 decibels, the ADX-2 gets 3 stars for its noise isolation. But more importantly, how did its competitors do? If we compare it with its competitors, we see that the ADX-2 is at the top with its score of 101 decibels, followed by the N72X with 102 decibels. At the very bottom ends the Icon Variant Pro with a score of 105 decibels. So on the noise isolation, it scores well compared to its competitors. But we are not done yet and we will continue with the ventilation of the helmet. We continue with the ventilation, and before we look at the road test results, let's look at the ventilation placed on the helmet. On the chin you have an adjustable vent and a vent that is always open. There is an adjustable ventilation opening on the top of the helmet, and to let this air out again there is a spoiler placed on the back of the helmet. But how did the ADX-2 perform on the road? When testing the helmet on the road it was 16 degrees Celsius outside. On the thermometer we can see that inside the helmet it was 18 degrees. Which means that the temperature inside the helmet was 2 degrees warmer. This means that it deserves 3 stars for the ventilation. If we are going to compare this with its competitors, we can see that it scores very well on this. At the top and at the Icon Variant Pro, which had the same temperature inside the helmet as the outside temperature. The helmet of Icon is followed by the ADX-2, where the difference was only 2 degrees. Only the Alloy Commander did exceptionally poorly, with a temperature difference of 12 degrees, giving it only 1 star. We have arrived at the config, and for this part we lean on the more than 15 years of riding experience of our test rider, who has also tested all the other helmets, and this can make the comparison like no other. We start with the inner lining, and this felt fine according to our test rider. He also indicates here that it is antibacterial, removable and washable, and thanks to the special quick fit cheek pads, almost all glasses, even with larger frames, fit in this helmet. If we add up all these points, the ADX-2 deserves 3 stars for this. And if we compare this to its competitors, we see that it earns as many stars as the MX-9 and the Commander. Only the Icon Variant Pro and the Nolan N72X are just a little bit better, with 3.5 stars. For features, we are going to look at what the extras the manufacturers have put into the helmet. We start with the chin, and this is, as you already have seen, a flip-up mechanism. The helmet from Scorpion is PJ certified, so it is possible to ride with the chin bar open, should you want to. In addition, the ADX-2 is prepared for speaker pockets. And thanks to 2 easy turn screws, you can easily remove the peak without tools if you want to ride without a peak. If we add all this together, we see that the ADX-2 deserves 3 stars for features. If we compare this with its competitors, it ends up at the top together with the N72X. The MX-9 Adventure and the Commander end at the bottom with 1.5 stars, and the Icon Variant Pro ends up in the middle with 2 stars. For material, because the helmet comes in 2 outer shell sizes and is made out of polycarbonate, it earns 2.5 stars for this. For a weight of 1834 grams, it also earns 2 stars, and because the visor is pinlock lens prepared and is included in the box, it gets 4 stars. For noise isolation, thanks to a value of 101 decibels, it earns 3 stars. In terms of ventilation, the helmet was 2 degrees warmer inside the helmet than the outside temperature, which gives it 3 stars. And because of the quick fit cheek pads and the inner lining, it earns 3 stars for comfort, and it also earns 3 stars for features. This means that the average of the ADX-2 comes out on 2.9 stars. Factoring this in with the price, you pay €12 per earned star for the ADX-2. So we can conclude that the Scorpion ADX-2 is a good all-round helmet that scores a little less on the material and weight. But you should not forget that this helmet can be used in multiple ways thanks to a flip-up mechanism, integrated sun visor and removable peak. Do you think the Scorpion ADX-2 is something for you, or do you want to learn more about its competitors? Then be sure to take a look at our webshop, www.championhelmets.com, where we offer the lowest price guarantees and have nice discount bundles. If you have any questions or feedback, we would love to hear them. Thank you for watching. My name is Timo for Champion Helmets, and hopefully until next time.